Welcome, everyone. We'll begin in a couple of minutes. Welcome, everyone. We'll begin exactly at 5. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the EduFund webinar series on managing children and screen time. Uh, uh, a, a warm welcome to Dr. Sharon. Thank you so much, Doctor, for joining us. Um, I'd like to begin with a little introduction to EduFund and what this webinar is going to be about. The EduFund is a platform that helps parents plan and save up and invest for their children's future. It is for the higher education for your children, and we organize this webinar series to dive deep into the concerns that parents have and to help them uh, plan better for their children's future. And we wanted to expand our horizons and move on to other concerns that parents might have. And one of the growing concerns that most parents had was the growing screen time that their children have. And we thought, why not bring in the foremost expert in the field and, you know, help parents deal better with the increasing screen time of their children. And for that reason, we have Dr. Sharon Lee Thomas with us. Want to give you a little introduction about Dr. Sharon. Dr. Sharon Lee Thomas is a renowned educator and counseling psychologist who specializes in child development. As the founder of Cherith Brook Counseling Center in India, she has collaborated with several schools and colleges and works primarily on the emotional and mental well being of children, teens, and young adults. And if anyone had to ask me who would be the best person to take this session, I would definitely have gone to Dr. Sharon. Thank you so much, Doctor, for joining us.
Thank you so much, Taib, for the warm welcome and introduction.
Yes, Doctor. So we can't wait. So please go ahead. Let's get started.
All right. Yes. So, very warm good evening to each one of you who are present here in this platform. I see around 17 parents probably. If you could all switch on your cameras, that would be a little more comfortable for me to have like an interaction session.
Actually, Dr. Sharon, so the camera on feature is not available for the attendees, but they can
All
send
right.
in their questions throughout the thing. So there's a Q&A box for everyone available. And if there are any questions, please feel free to send in there and we can go ahead. Dr. Sharon, you can have your camera on. That'd be good for everyone listening.
Sure. All right. All right. So let's begin. It's a very interesting topic. I'm sure as parents, this is something which is very challenging. But let me tell you, hats off to you guys, who are actually the 4G parents. And you have the huge responsibility to like raise up digital natives. Okay, and let me begin by introducing the digital natives. They are a group of energy filled homo sapiens who are just born into a hyper connected world where nothing or everything is through screen and everything is through technology. So you have a challenging time raising up these digital natives. Those are called your children. All right, so let's begin by, like, in a simple way, trying to understand what is parenting. All right, and you might come with different answers. You might have a different belief system based on how you were raised up, how you have seen other parents parenting other children, and when you became new parents, you started believing that it's my responsibility to raise and provide. And what to provide? I have to be their protector, I have to provide them care and make sure that they're having a healthy development. And we don't want the babies to grow up so fast, but however the truth is that they are developing every single day. The growth and development is happening. Some seem to be very slow development, but actually the brain development is happening rather very quickly. And the first 6 years, the early childhood, is where a lot of growth is happening in the brain areas. And hence parenting is a process. Okay, so Rahib, can you please move to the next slide? Yes. Okay, so what do you really know about your kids and about screens? So let's just, try to understand the scenario when we say screen time, when we say kids are spending a lot of time in front of screens. So the truth around us is that wherever they are, the screens are virtually everywhere. And controlling a child's screen time can be challenging. And you in your own home, or when you visit to a friend's home, or from doctor's office to museums, everywhere there is no escapism from this screen time. And to complicate matters, you have this very thin border between, can I use screen or technology for my child so that it helps in their education, or will it support in their social development? You have these questions coming up. I want to control my child's screen time, but at the same time I also want to allow them to use it for educational purposes. All right, next slide please. Yes, so moving ahead to understand what kind of parent are you. Now we know that screens are everywhere, we know that kids are born into this hyper-connected world, but what kind of a parent are you? Can you just take a time to just introspect what kind of a parenting style you have? When your child becomes a little irritable or whiny in a restaurant, or when you're going out in a shopping or in a social gathering, in order to avoid probably the awkwardness that your child is throwing tantrum, or probably when you think that your child is requiring some kind of attention, the easiest method is use the screen as a babysitter. I'm sure there are many of you who are trying this strategy. You use the phone or whatever technology is available, the gadget, the iPad, or the mobile phone, and you give it to the child who actually is requiring your touch or probably your attention, or probably the child wants to convey something. But for you, the easiest strategy is, let the mobile phone take care of my child, new babysitter. And this babysitter does not actually respond, but rather is just available there as a non-living object. We seldom forget that. We think, okay, in that screen there are a lot of action happening, there are a lot of human beings, there's some serial or something that the child is watching, but a cartoon. But actually inside that non-living object, again, there are inanimate object or animated characters, not real characters. So that's another side of how you might be a parent. Another way is, how do you justify now? you have basically contributed by adding to the screen time exposure of your child by introducing this babysitter. All right, so that's one food for thought for you. Okay, so now I'm posing this important question back to you. Now you are here in this forum saying that I'm really going crazy, I don't know how to control my child's screen time. But with your style of parenting, are you actually able to track the screen time usage of your child? Also, on one hand, you're trying to track, and on one hand, you're also like putting a lot of restrictions on your child and their behavior. Okay, so don't do this, don't do that, but ultimately you are responsible somewhere to add up to the screen time exposure of your child. Okay, we'll come to this little more in detail in the coming slides. The next slide, please. All right. Now, I did tell you that your child's brain is still developing, and during this development, from 0 to 6, then from 6 to 8, or from 8 to 12, and then they hit their teens, then from 12 to 18. There is a ongoing transition that is happening here. Okay, now right here, which we call the forehead, this is actually the prefrontal cortex, the area in the brain which is constantly developing until the age of 25. The latest research says that it continues to grow till 25, 22 to 25. So now each of this stage when the brain is developing, the child also picks up understanding that I'm undergoing a transition from I was a toddler, now I'm suddenly called a preschool child, and then I'm become a primary school child. So that sudden transition of the brain development plus the tasks that are around them surrounding the brain development. For example, now when the child is in their preschool, they suddenly start feeling I want to do things on my own, I want a little freedom in eating by myself, I want to go to the toilet by myself, I want to dress up without my mom's help. And suddenly when you're trying to say no, let me dress you up, they're not really finding it so easy. It's a sudden transition. The brain is telling them that you have to do this, the autonomy, the freedom. They have the capacity, they have the capability, but as a parent you're trying to bring in a little bit of pampering, a little bit of overprotection, or it's your love and care, of course, but that sudden transition is making them difficult. So same applies for the screen time. Now the child is suddenly coming to this understanding, I can pick up a mobile phone and just start using, just like how all the people around me are doing. So who are the people around them? Parents. Okay, so there is a beautiful saying that we are all products of our environment, or we are products of the learning. Now more than school, now since all the children are inside the homes during the pandemic, the learning environment that they are spending most of the time is by looking at the role models that you are. Okay, the role models, the human beings walking around them, the environment that you're creating for them are the parents, or the elder siblings that maybe little children have. And so preschool children, for example, I've just quoted the example of fully preschool. Same applies for toddlers. Same applies for teenagers. If you have teens at home, who are trying to discover who they are, and they are going through a lot of confusion with, their identity, suddenly they are also, brought, under the scrutiny of, parents who have suddenly become new parents of teenagers. They don't know how to handle the teenagers, but the teen is also in that transition stage where they're also scared. And if you as a parent do not actually know in which stage your child's development is, there is going to be a clash within yourself as a parent, like, I'm really scared, I don't know how to handle it. And even for the child also will feel that my parent actually does not understand me, does not see me, does not hear me. So better let me, rely on the virtual people who are, so nice to me. They don't shout at me. They don't, they don't check on me. They are there for me. So they create their own virtual environment. So that's about a little bit about child's developmental stage. I hope you have all understood, and, you do a little more research on, which stage is your child right now. Is the child, moving from sense of, are they trying to be in their freedom? They're trying to discover freedom, or if they're at preschool, or if they're a teen, are they trying to discover themselves? So try to do a little bit of research on your child's development stage, so that you understand the transition that they're going through. And when you suddenly make a move of, bringing in restrictions, that's a sudden transition for them from any activity, and it can be a difficult time for them. All right, can we move to the next slide? Yes, now here, now the next area where we have to really, think is how much time are kids spending on screens? Okay, now when we say screens, it includes, smartphones, tablets, gaming, TV, computers, everything. It's all screen time. Okay, now parents may not always know what their children are viewing. That is another question that you always have. Probably you might even develop anxiety or panic attack. I really don't have access. I don't know what my child is viewing. Whom is he communicating to? Is he falling prey into something? Is he getting addicted to something? That anxiety, that worry, is constantly there for you as a parent. And also you are trying to ask this question, how much time they're spending with the screens. Now I have a question for you. Are you really having did you ever ask this question, how much time they're spending with the screens? Okay, one question of worry would be, what is my child viewing? But have you asked yourself, asked this question, how much time are they spending with screens? So this is an important question that you should probably, start asking and finding the answers. And the answers might surprise you, because it's a lot of time. And probably if you calculate, it may exceed more than 2 hours, and more than 2 hours is unhealthy, and not a very balanced way of letting the child grow according to any of the development that the child is in. All right, next slide, please. Okay, now this is one interesting survey that was done by a company, Persils, and they did a project called Dirt is Good project. And through this campaign, they actually found out that now I want you to just conduct a quick survey in your own homes and about your own children, when I'm taking you through the survey results. Okay, in which category, out of this 5, where does your child fall into, or what kind of a parent are you? All right, so the first result, the report that came out of this campaign was, kids spend twice as long playing on screens as they do playing outside. Okay, so that means compared to the outdoor movement, which requires, all the muscles, all the bones, all the joints to move, kids are actually using only the fingers, twice as long playing on the screens. So are you really understanding the harmful effects of your child using only the fingers and the finger joints, and not the entire body movements? Now the second type of parenting and second type of kids that you might have is, 3 out of the 4 kids spend less than 1 hour playing outside each day. Okay, 3 out of 4 kids spend only less than 60 minutes playing outside each day. All right, so that again, if you look at it, children 1 to 6 years, the learning environment should be consisting more of playtime, more of developing their motor skills, developing more of social skills, developing more of a lot of skills which can be happening only while interacting with another person, say language, or say ability to communicate in usage of different vocabulary, or meaning of those vocabulary, or discovering how the society functions. And those things can only be gained if the child spends time outside and not in front of the screen. Now, the third kind of parents and kids are 1 out of the 5 kids don't play outside at all on a typical day. Okay, now I'm not going to ask how many of you are continuing this even during this pandemic. I know there is a fear factor of contracting the coronavirus, but still, on a typical day, have you been a parent who did not allow your child to play outside at all, over pampering, or over protection, or over concern? And
Dr. Sharon,
yes.
there's a question here. So, a parent is asking if they should include the online studying hours also in the screen time.
Yes, the online schooling, of course, there's no we have no choice other than allowing the online schooling to be considered as the screen time, but the that is education. So that's what I said, there is a thin line between how much you're permitting for education and for other screen time. So your schooling is not going to be considered as screen time during this pandemic, but I'm talking before pandemic and maybe after pandemic, how the world is going to be. But during pandemic, I think online schooling for small children, 3 to 4 hours, I think that is normal, and they are going. That is going to be the new normal as well. So I hope I've answered your question.
Thank you, Dr. Sharon.
All right. Okay. So now moving to the fourth type of parenting, and the fourth type of kids that you might have at home is 3 out of the 4 parents said that their kids often refuse to play games without some form of technology. They have reached a level that probably they do not know what are games, which can be played outdoor, or probably they are not having enough of option to play outside. What is the reason? Why do they refuse to play games which does not have technology? For them, game means video game or anything to do with technology. Other than that, they do not know what a game is. So is that another scenario at home for you? Now, the fifth type of the parents, and the fifth type of kids that you might have is 2 out of 3 parents say that kids spend less time outside than they did as children. All right. So now you might be comparing it with your own childhood. As a during my childhood, I used to spend a lot of time outside, but my child does not spend enough time. So where is that difficulty coming again from? Is it because your kids do not have the suitable environment, or uh, is it that they have ran out of options, or do you live in a neighborhood where they don't have kids to play around with? So it could be different reasons for each of you, but however, this is also one area where you should think, they're spending less time compared outside than when you did as in your childhood. Okay. Can we move to the next slide, please? Yes. Now, this is one area of concern, and why you might be thinking, screen time is dangerous for my child. Most of the advertisements, if you see, might be aimed at your child. You might be worrying, my child might pick up this interest. Maybe that's why they say, I want this, or I want to wear like this advertisement. I want to drink like what is shown in the product. Okay, so that is one thing that your child might be exposed to. It's true. Okay. Or misleading and inaccurate information. Not all the information out in the technology might be giving you the accurate information, might not be giving the accurate information to your child, irrespective of the age. Substance use, where do they get certain information about substance use? In contacts, or some kind of predator, cyberbullying. Is your child being cyberbullied? Or violence and risk-taking behavior, where do they get this information of using violence and risk-taking behaviors? What kind of stories are they reading to? And videos of stunts or challenges that may inspire unsafe behavior, taking just risky actions which might have a very bad consequence or dangerous consequence. Sexual content, or naughty pictures and videos that parents are afraid that might get exchanged, or negative stereotypes. What is your child being exposed to? That is another area of concern, and why you as a parent must think about the screen time. Now, that was an important question asked by Ms. Shilpa, the online schooling. Even in online schooling, I have had parents, reaching out during the pandemic, really worried, saying that, ma'am, I really don't know whether my son is really paying attention to the online classes, because I see him, chatting with his friends during that time. And I am not able to like really come and hold him responsible, because he says he's in front of the classroom and he does not want his mom coming into the room and spying on him. So there is a worrisome scenario there, as parents of teenagers or parents of toddlers, primary school children. They are the smart generation kids, or they are the digital natives. They know, they are fearless. They know that this is their world. Technology is their world. They cannot do anything without technology. All right, the next slide, please. Okay, there was a question. Programs are there for them. They're interested more towards how to control. Yes, Mr. Anish, I would come to that. I will come to that in a while. Thank you for that question. All right. Now, another challenge of screen time is it actually creates sleep problems for your child. It might affect the performance, it might lead to academic performance which are not very appeasing, considering the effort that you're putting as a parent, the effort that the teachers are putting in, and there's a low grade that is seen in the record. We do say, when we say healthy parenting, we say, focus on the child and not the marks. But somewhere when we see a drop in their grades, that is an area of concern. And another challenge of screen time is they spend less time with family and friends and more time with this non-living object called the screen. Okay, and another area of concern is not enough outdoor or physical activity, which is to be taken seriously, considering that we are living in a country where our health system or our healthcare facilities are not enough to cater to the large population, or it's expensive going for physical health checkups, or now even the growing concern of mental health problems, going stigma towards mental health. Now, not having enough outdoor or physical activity will lead eventually to some risk for some disease that is on the way, or some mental health problem that's on the way. Another area of concern that's in the red circle is less learning other ways to relax and have fun. For children, the only way of relaxing is sit on a sofa, take the mobile phone and relax and chill out. That they do not have opportunity to find out other ways to relax, or other ways to have fun, like how the previous generation had. Or still some children do have the privilege of finding out other ways to relax. Another area of issue that is coming in the pre-teens, or we say the early adolescent period, is weight problem. Okay, if you see the children with in the adolescent period really have pot bellies, which look like as though they are already like having some chronic problem in their abdomen or some stomach issue. They really have a cute little pot belly bulging out of their stomach. Weight problems. Now, where you might say, my child is eating healthy. No, my dear parent, it is not about eating healthy. It is a very dangerous sign that your child is actually exceeded the body mass index. You might want to really check or help them with understanding what is body mass index, according to their height or according to the weight. Why is the circumference with regard to their waist or with regard to their chest, why is it overly large compared to other kids? And that is going to create more problems. They might not want to participate in more physical activities henceforth, because they're not able to carry their own body weight. Okay, so that is another challenge of screen time. And here I might also give you a caution that the new smoking is sitting. Okay, the new smoking, we now need not be scared about the smoking, dangers of smoking. You should be more scared of your child sitting longer time. And why do they sit longer time? Because they have a screen in their hand. All right. Now, another area of concern is mood and behavioral problems. They don't know how to behave. They don't know how to regulate their emotions. They're not talking to human beings or families or friends. They are, constantly watching some some content that is coming from the screen, and that will create mood and behavior problems. because they really cannot adjust to some emotional things that are happening around them in real life, because they do not know how to regulate it. Okay. And another area of concern is increased violence. The kind of content that is just coming one after the other is a lot of violence, either through physical violence or emotional violence, or the dialogues. When I'm saying emotional violence, a lot of dialogues that are not very healthy for your child to pick up. Violence, there's a message of violence. Okay. And the second last point is poor self-image and body image issues. They are looking at the real videos, or animated characters which look very slim, zero fit size, straight hair, no wrinkles, no pimples, everybody's fair and lovely. And then they look at themselves and they say, I am nowhere near that character. I want to aim to be like that hero, that heroine, or whoever that character is shown through or thrown at them. That becomes their area of reference. They refer to these characters and they compare their own body weight or their own body image, and the issues start coming. And you as a parent, you do not know how to handle. They pick up different dresses they don't like. They don't like anything in the wardrobe. They don't want to come out when family friends come. They don't want to go for any functions. The body image issues are already playing in their mind. And another, now one something which is trending around, and there are a lot of children, adolescents, including adults, who are being reported of this condition, which is called FOMO, fear of missing out. What if my screen does not show display? How will I survive? What if my mobile phone does not have enough charge? Will I really survive? And that is called FOMO. You might want to do the research on the symptoms of FOMO, FOMO, fear of missing out. You're constantly scared, and I'm sure children are also watching you having this FOMO symptoms. I'm sure you panic when your mobile is reaching 20% battery, or some even panic with 60% battery. Remember that children are watching all this kind of behavior and the anxiety that you have towards screen time, and probably that's their role. They're modeling you as well, so be aware of that as well. And can I move to the next slide, please? Yes. Now, what are the psychological impacts if a child is exposed to porn? A very important question asked by Mr. Anish. Yes. Now, porn is watching porn, whether it's for a child or for a teen or for an adult, kind of gives this kind of rewarding kind of feeling, kind of pleasure, which kind of triggers the hormones to be released. And that hormone release is very rewarding in nature. The brain will crave for it again and again. Okay. And slowly moves into addiction, because when we get something which is rewarding for our brain, eventually you would want to crave for it more and more, like alcohol or like smoking or like caffeine. Okay. Porn is similar to that. However, there is another side effect to it, where the children are also being exposed to the unreal ways of sexual gratification or sexual satisfaction or family life, or the acts of sex itself. Okay. There is now a provision where sex education is being made mandatory in school level and college levels also, to show to give them that information of how the sex is really like a basic need of a human, rather than overdoing it as how it is shown in porn. Children do not have that information, that it is a paid act, or it is a role play. They don't have the real information, and they might mimic it, or they may want to try it. So those are the psychological effects that the child will undergo. And over time they will also feel like that is something which this is the only way to perform. All right. So that's about the question to the porn. And yes, so can I move to the next slide? Sorry, the next slide was there. I missed out. Can you please go to the previous? Yeah. Now here, I want you to just focus a little bit in understanding. I think I've already touched on it, but again, I'm reiterating that a study that was conducted in National Institute of Health in 2018 reported that children who spend more than 2 hours a day on screen time activities scored lower on language and thinking test. All right. Now, you might say that, my child is getting exposed to very good videos, which has very good content, a lot of English words, a lot of nice language words, but actually, what is happening in the brain areas is the more time your child is getting exposed to screen time, the brain areas which are, responsible for language, for speech, for vocabulary, or developing meaning out of those vocabulary words are actually shrinking in size. There is a thinning that is happening. If you look at the picture that I've shown here in the slide, you can see that the prefrontal cortex, this forehead area where that areas are located, the Broca's area, Wernicke's area, that are the the names of the parts of the brain that actually are responsible for the the language and the thinking, the critical thinking. How do I think out of the box, or how do I think for the situation? Those areas are actually getting erased. It's not used. So what is happening is, it is something very fascinating about a brain is whatever you don't use actually starts fading away. The neuronal circuits, the neuronal networks actually lose their connect. Are you able to comprehend what I'm trying to say about your child spending more than 2 hours a day on screen time is actually experiencing thinning of the prefrontal cortex areas? Okay, so that's an area of concern. However, if you would choose to use non-electronic devices, this was the the recommendation given by the survey in 2018, that is just pre-pandemic, that instead of that, if you engage your child with non-electronic devices, such as playing with toys or playing with others, exploring out the dirt, grass, nature, trees, or anything outside, outdoor, or they also develop social skills, they develop language skills, they have this way of developing even the reasoning and the critical thinking skills. In that way, you're helping your child. You're as a parent, you are inculcating a lot of healthy development that the child should have within that particular stage. I hope this is clear. Now, can we please move to the next slide? Yes, so these are some of the points that I've just wanted to just highlight. Like I said, that the neural connections that we have, anything that is not used, it's like less used, over time doesn't become very powerful in action. And now there was one question asked by Miss, if I could go back, yes, Miss, I forgot the name, the first person who asked the doubt, yeah, about the online classes. Now here you should remember that they are digital natives. Okay, they are fearless about the technology, they are fearless about screen usage, they see everything through screen usage, they believe that that is their way out because they're born into it, it's not their fault. But remember, when you offer the environment to them, have a balance of online and offline experiences. If you're letting them have 1 or 2 hours of screen time, which includes the TV, smartphone, games, everything all together, 2 hours, remember that you also give 2 hours of offline experiences of some real things that are really happening in the world outside or within the family itself. I'll come to that, how you can really offer both in balance in the environment itself. And remember that one more thing, which if any of you are a parent to a teen, or even now primary school children have this habit of using mobile phones probably while going to bed. During the bedtime, I want to watch something and I sleep, I want to text my friend and I want to sleep, or I have something to discuss with my friend just before the bedtime. Remember that blue screen light that the screens emit is actually responsible for reducing the production of melatonin. Okay, melatonin is a hormone which is required for assisting in sleep, or that is the hormone that is required for putting your child to sleep, so that the child sleeps off early, doesn't take long time to sleep off. It gives a good sleep cycle, gives enough sleep, The child doesn't have short span of sleep, good healthy sleep. Now when the child is exposed to the screen light, the melatonin production is reduced. That means your child will take longer time to sleep off, or your child will have a disturbed sleep pattern. And over time, melatonin reduction in melatonin production will give rise to other health problems which are waiting for the child, when the child is hitting puberty, or when the child is going to the young adult stage, reproductive stage. That time all these side effects of deprived sleep, right from I remember a parent who actually boasted to me saying that, what, ma'am, my child is so smart and he's only 2 years old, right? And the parent is boasting, my child wakes up in the middle of the night at 3 a.m. and he can switch on the smartphone and he can play his favorite rhyme at 3 a.m. That is not something that we can be proud of, because the child is getting exposure to screen, the light from the screen, the blue light emission, which is actually going to disturb the entire production of melatonin. Hence, as parents, I think whether you're a parent of a toddler or a preschool or a teenage, even if you have children or you're a parent of a college child, remember that practice sleep hygiene at home. That means keep a rule in the house that before 1 hour before bedtime, everybody keeps their gadgets away, makes the room setting a little more dim so that melatonin production happens. I hope I'm making sense to you this evening with regard to good night's sleep, which is also important for a healthy brain development. All right, now moving on to the next slide, please. Yes. Now, in the Indian context, I just want to show two different scenarios, one in the urban setting and one in the rural setting. Okay. Now, in the urban setting, there was a study done, for children below 5 years, and that was a cross-sectional study. That means over time, they did a study and they found out that all the children who were exposed to screen time during their babyhood, childhood, below 5 years, that is below 5 years, actually had language and communication problems. And for a matter of fact, I know speech and language centers here in Bangalore who had a booming business because of the children being exposed to screen time. The speech and language pathologist or the speech and language professionals had a queue of parents rushing, saying that my child is not speaking, my child is not communicating. One of the reason is excessive screen time will lead to developmental delay for your baby, which is going to be, supposed to be in the preschool or playing in the playground. But you, during the pandemic, you as a parent chose screen as a babysitter for your child. And your child is now having difficulty and is not able to have that normal development as supposed to be. So that is another area of concern in the language and communication domains. Now we know that in a country like India, we cannot just talk about only the urban cities and metropolitan cities. We should also equally focus on our rural settings. And there was a study done in the rural setting from 2 years to 6 years, and they found out that 80% of the children in the rural settings actually are addicted to television and smartphone. Remember, 2 years to 6 years, rural settings, where there is actually provision for field and nature and open ground, but yet 2 to 6. So why is this transition happening? Why even the rural India is affected? That means as an individual and as a society, we should take steps. That was the recommendation after the study. They actually recommended that as individual and as a society, we are responsible to make some changes. This is coming out as a very emerging public health concern. Like I said, sitting is the new smoking. Now, even rural, children growing up in rural settings are addicted to, sitting, whereas they have a lot of beautiful opportunity to go out and play with the soil, mud, gardening, what not. Okay, so this is a growing concern, a public health issue that we are facing together as a country. So individual and society, which represents each of you as parents, as families, we have a big role to play. Can we move to the next slide? Yes. Now the whole, the focus of today's evening, and EduFund rightly has chosen a very important topic. And I really thank and appreciate EduFund for doing this in asking this important question: are you finding it difficult to handle your child with screen time issues? So I just came out with 8 of the recommendations that I have for you as parents and caregivers of your little ones, or children of teens or toddlers or preschool. Okay, one, can we move to the, so these are the 8, so I'll go through it one by one. Can we move to the first point? Yes. So the first point is, now TV is something which is, as we call it, the big monster in the living room. Okay, it's there, it's watching you, and you watch them, and you're always in front of them because that's placed right in the living room. All right, you have no choice, no, you have no escape from this monster. But here, now, one of the recommendation that I have for you as parents is, the screen time in front of TV can also be controlled. If, now I will come to different age groups. For toddlers, do not encourage screen time for toddlers when you're busy with your own work. For example, just to get rid of your child's tantrum, or to just get rid of your child misbehaving, you say, go and sit in front of the TV. You give the remote, you switch on the TV, and you say, use the TV. Don't trouble me, trouble the TV. Okay, so that is one thing which shouldn't be encouraged. Rather, try to get them to engage in puzzles or games, which not only keeps away them from screen time, but also helps in their brain development. Now, instead of choosing TV as the only strategy, have other things, two to-do list. For example, have some puzzles for them, some games, or you can even involve them in household chores, which can be as per their interest. Maybe help in the laundry, or arranging things in the kitchen, or probably cleaning. Okay, I know parents who have used this strategy. They have this thing on weekends that they have given to siblings to clean the entire house, the windows, the doors. Okay, so that takes away a lot of screen time. That actually takes away a lot of screen time, because cleaning actually consumes a lot of time. With children, that is for toddlers. For children, the same way, watch TV with them. Okay, encourage viewing informative content, or allow them to discuss what they understand from it, and engage in conversations rather than leaving them alone with TV. Now, you might say, I don't have enough time to sit with my child for watching TV. Create that kind of schedule in your home where that's actually also a family time, plus you're there to supervise what your child is watching. So it's not like invading their privacy. That's not an area of privacy. That's the living room where the TV is placed. And as a family, you're allowed to sit on the sofa with your children. That should become a normal. Okay. So now, coming to the teenagers now might be very adamant about sharing their screen time, and they'll say, mommy, why are you sitting with me? Let me watch this alone. Or, I don't want you. I want privacy when I'm, using the laptop, or the desktop, the computers at home. So in that cases, do not encourage multitasking. Now, for example, the child might be saying, I'm using this for probably, I want to watch this series, or I want to watch. Now, during that time, don't let them do other things, like don't let them also use the mobile phone. And if it is TV time, just the TV time. And probably, and make it a habit that even with teens, engage in a family TV time also, because make it more comfortable for them, where where family members are watching a movie or a show together, rather than letting them be alone. Since it's a living room, I think it should be a more interactive room rather than just the TV and the teenager. All right, so can we move to the next point? Yes. Now, second point, which is one of my favorite that I suggest to all the parents, is avoid screens while having meals and during family time. Make it a golden rule in your family that, on the dining table, no gadgets are allowed. On the dining table, it's a meal time. Let's practice mindful eating. Let's focus on the food. Let's focus on each other. Let's help out in the dining table setting. And there was a study done, in Spain, where they actually studied pre-adolescents, that is from till 14 years, pre-adolescents and till 14 years. And they found out that children who are actually have given this freedom to use gadgets on the dining table actually get into junk intake more than children who are not having this habit or not given this freedom. Now, instead of a mobile, now you might say, that's the only way my child has learned how to eat food. If I give a mobile, he will nicely sit and eat. Right from the babyhood, try to not include the, screen time to, help the child eating. Instead, engage with the child, talking, storytelling, or, play a game. That's more interactive. Okay, and over time the child will also not get into this junk food intake, because junk food intake is also something which is deeply rooted. It's a kind of way of compensating for things that they are not getting in the real world. So they're getting into eating disorders, probably junk food eating, which will, over time they might start consuming in more in quantity. I have seen children who consume packets of chips, not realizing they have consumed more than the quantity required for the day. Okay, so they're actually having two leisure time. One is, that's a free time, that's where they're having the meal. But during that free time, they're also having the screen time. So they're getting like two things happening at the same time. They're not able to relish or cherish that moment of eating, probably with the family members or without family members, but rather give them something, rather not give them anything, but let them focus on the food. Let them be grateful for the food. And I think that can be inculcated, that, gratefulness of having a meal to eat, that should be brought in. Now, that means you as a parent also should help them by, making the dining table a tech free zone. I hope I'm, kind of giving you an understanding about how to tackle during the meal time. And here, adolescent screen time, remember that if you are allowing your child to use screen time during dining time, that is also creating poor attachment with parents and peers. There's no eye contact, there's no conversation happening. Everybody has their own gadget in their hand. And instead of, like really enjoying each other, the child is enjoying something that is from their, a virtual environment. All right, so that's about meal and during family time. The next recommendation, the fourth recommendation. Yeah, now this is something which you can explore on your own, using parental controls to block or filter internet content, which most of the apps, programs do have. They have this option of parental control option. You can find out, or ask somebody who's already using, how to control, and let there be an open conversation about it. These are some programs will be permitted, some programs are not available. Make it more be genuine with your child at times, where you say that some things according to your development, or according to your age, you require only this, and hence we are giving you only this much, and you do not have access to the others. According to, when you grow bigger, we will give you access. You can have a little bit of conversation, because sometimes the kids are very smart. They say, you've blocked something, you have a password, give me the password. It's okay to say no to your child. Do not be afraid to say no to your child. All right, so that's about the fourth point. Now the fifth point, can we go to the next slide? Yeah. Help your kid to cultivate habits that include outdoor activities. Okay, now outdoor activities in the limited space that you have, whatever, allow them to remember that they have their whole body and not just the tip of the fingers to function. And outdoor play, which is a very healthy option or alternative for screen time, because it increases motor skills, it reduces body mass index, it improves muscle strength, and increases openness towards friends and families. They will know how to behave with friends and families. It will also improve their peer relations. They will know how to talk to a particular age, or they will know how to respect a particular age, maybe elderly, or they will know how to interact with, they are digital natives. Okay, their grandparents are digital immigrants who are just new to this whole thing of WhatsApp, social media. So how to respect the age gap. In order to improve all these relationships, outdoor play, in the form of outdoor play, it should be cultivated within the family setting. And also to develop a sense of independence. They can be, now there are few parents who say, when my child goes out to play, I also go and sit there. You don't have to always monitor how your child is playing with other children, because they should learn how to handle a conflict among friends, among their age groups, probably to have a fall and get up and experience that. So help them. Now I told you, do a little homework on which stage your child is, so help them to develop that sense of independence also. And then improves the communication skills, how to say a lot of things in a social setting, how to have healthy communication with each other, or how to play together as a team, or developing resilience. There are so many areas that you can cultivate habit that includes outdoor activities. Okay. And I think previously I did touch upon this very important point, that when you encourage physical activity, you as a parent are also in a long run, you're preventing a lot of primary and secondary chronic diseases that are waiting for them, such as now, if you realized, you must have heard a lot of news that are coming in the past 4 5 years. A lot of people in the age group of 29 to 39 are having heart problems, even undergoing heart attacks. So cardiovascular diseases, that one of the risk factor for developing heart problems is lack of physical activity. And remember that whenever you say screen time, the only way to take out that screen time or minimize the screen time is engage them in physical activity. It could be anything. It could be anything within the house or outdoor activity, which can prevent a lot of diseases in the future. That is cardiovascular disease, diabetes, cancer, hypertension, obesity, depression, mental health problems, anxiety. If they are able to manage a lot of things outside, they will be able to have a coping strategy of dealing with anxiety. Osteoporosis, this is one interesting area. If you do not realize, even for adults, the more longer time we sit, we are not letting our bones have a healthy movement, and we are actually contributing to weakening of our bones, which applies for adolescents, teenagers. Teenage is the time when the bones are becoming stronger, and during that time your child is resorting to sitting throughout the day. Online classes, then again entertainment is also through sitting, and then everything is through sitting. Their bones are becoming weak, it's becoming fragile. Osteoporosis are happening early in age. Okay. And premature death, that is also because of these chronic diseases that are eating them up slowly. All right, now moving to the next slide, the sixth point. The next slide, please. Yeah, now this is an area of concern where you have to be careful by engaging in a conversation with your child, by educating them about the online privacy and safety. As your child develops in the ability to comprehend a lot of things, tell them, be careful with personal information. Do not give personal information with anybody and everybody. And be a role model. Probably you can avoid certain online purchases, and literally take them to a setting where you show them how you really engage in conversations. Buy the grocery, check the grocery, and buy, somewhere you're giving them this education indirectly, that we cannot trust all the people out there in the online platform, because they might steal your information, and that might have harmful consequences. So talking about appropriate online behavior, how do they report to you if they are facing some cyberbullying, or somebody trying to extract extra information from them. All those areas, these are important recommendations now, because they are always through online classes also, they are sitting in front of the laptop, they have access to the internet. So that is, as a parent, you should take the responsibility of teaching your child about online privacy and safety. And now moving to the seventh point, which is actively decide when your child is ready. Now, this is an important area of concern, especially for parents whose child has suddenly become a teenager, and you don't know how to handle it. And now you are either becoming obsessed about it or possessive about it, like, no, I'm not going to give a screen to my baby girl who has now become a teen, or my baby boy who's become a teen. as a parent, you should be able to trust your instincts whether my child is ready for handling a screen or a device of his own. Now, that mentorship, that responsibility is little crucial. Have a direct conversation saying that, now it's time to give you. I believe that I can trust you by giving you this device. Maybe you're giving that device so that the child can reach out. For example, you have to pick up your child, and in order to have a communication, probably a mobile phone, that is the reason probably you're giving. But have a conversation along with that, saying that I'm trusting, I'm giving you this mobile phone, because the advantage of having this mobile phone with you. You can come, call up to mama or papa, or you can ask for help. But at the same time, also tell them about how you as a parent might also be worried if anything is misused. So that having that conversation in the open with the teenager will help both the teenager and the parent. Because see, what is going to happen in the home is you will give the mobile phone, but suddenly you will start walking around like a stressed parent, because now you'll start, oh, I wish I could have installed a software to find out with whom she's chatting, or I wish I could see what he's doing. Now you start becoming behaving like a very stressed out parent, and that is going to create a lot of friction between the teen and the parent. So actively decide when your child is ready for a personal device. And all those parents who are gifting your children very young in age with very expensive gadgets, please think about it, because you are indirectly telling them this is the only way to entertain, this is the only way to learn, this is the only way to have a better life. Of course, for the rest of their life they have to use social media, or they have to use technology. So do not steal their childhood. In their childhood they have a lot of other things to really experience, and when you're handing a birthday gift in the form of a gadget, you're actually stealing away there a lot of things that they could have explored during their childhood. All right, and now coming to the last point, which is the 8th point. Can I just move to the next slide? Yeah. Now, this is encourage using screens in ways that build creativity and connection with family and friends. All right. So now screens, we often think, it's for the education purposes or for communication purposes. Convey that to your child. Tell them that, this is so that we stay connected. You can reach out to us. We are there for you if you want to talk to, grandparents, rather than giving them a gadget and separating them or allowing them to drift away from you. Once you've given them a gadget, you start feeling bad for the reason that they have cut you off, because they don't want you to see what they're doing, or they want to enjoy that screen time alone, but you start feeling bad. So encourage them to use that screen or use that gadget for creativity and for connection, rather than just disappearing into their own world. And that comes to another important point that I want to just leave your thought with. Remember that when your child says I'm bored, I don't have anything else to do, for you as an option that is readily available is a gadget that you can give. It could be a mobile phone, it could be a game, or it could be even the TV. Now remember that when they say I am bored, that is the exact space where they can develop their creativity and innovative, whatever innovations they can come up with. Boredom is the place that they can that's the best place to be. So do not feel bad if your child says I'm bored. Sit with them and ask them, what can we do, what can we do to just spend this time together, and let them come up with lot of options and help them, rather than creating a strict boundary. Help them to explore whatever they have put in the list. And remember that when they start coming up with options, obviously screen time would be one of those. Okay, it will not be the only one. So as a parent, believe in your child's ability to explore and create an environment that might really help them to venture into whatever is best for them. Because also trust them and trust your own instincts as well as a parent. And living with these thoughts. I really thank EduFund for giving me this beautiful opportunity to interact with so many parents. I do not know the number, but I hope it has benefited you this evening, and especially on this topic, screen time and children. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sharon. Thank you so much for being with us this evening. I'm pretty sure that all the parents joining us, they had a very informative session for them. Just to have a little uh, more, I think a good use of screen time for parents would be downloading the EduFund app, where they can start planning for their children's future. The planning for now, I think Dr. Sharon equipped us with today with all of the information that we got. I think planning for the future, I think EduFund can help us with that. Also, I'd just like to add that the recording for this entire session, if you missed out parts of it, important parts of it, it'll be available for everyone on the YouTube channel of EduFund. There is a link that is given in the chat box. So if you want, you can just subscribe right now, and you can also get in touch with us via Telegram. All of the links are available. I just want to thank everyone again for joining us today, and thank you again, Dr. Sharon. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, team of EduFund, who have given me this opportunity. Have a good evening to one and all.
Yes.